We are a small group today, and but I want you to know that I love you all for Valentine's, and I wanted to do something special for Valentine's. And I would kiss you, but I've got a cold. I'm on antibiotics. Thank you very much. And so I got the kisses. So the kisses are for me to you. I would love you for coming to this organization and this event. Ollie should be a great speaker for us today. I'm going to start with a kind of dirty joke. You know I don't usually do this, but my brother has this thing about cartoons, and he put this on my table, and I just said, this is good. I was eating breakfast with my 10-year-old granddaughter, and I asked her, what day is tomorrow? And without skipping a beat, she said, it's President's Day. I was waiting for something about Obama, Bush, or Clinton, and she replied, President's Day is when the president steps out of the White House, and if he sees his shadow, we have another year of bullshit. I couldn't pass it, I'm sorry. It's really inappropriate. I'm Alberta Hemsley. Liz Ping and Katie, who are here yet. And Katie Hoffman, want to wave she's got a red shirt, wave in the back, please, Katie. Katie, just wave, because that's Katie Hoffman, who helped found this group. Thank you very much. And Stan, back there at the video, yeah. And if you don't know it, the video appears the next day or so on our Facebook page, which is Greater Cincinnati Dems. That was Liz Ping, not me. I call it the Democrats, but she likes to give names. Anyway, so either way, you can find us and the video of this open to the public, or just find it on YouTube. It is on YouTube. It'll be under Ollie Kroner. Our newsletter is back in business with Pete Rose. Pete Rose, will you please wave your hand?
My name is Peter.
I'm sorry. Here, Peter.
Anybody with
Wait.
anybody with a notice that would like to be in the they'd like to be in the newsletter, please fill it out in this card and get it back to me. You can raise your hands, I'll carry them around. Okay.
Can't hear you.
You have to call it real close. This is a lesson for you. I have to do it real close and kind of almost parallel to the floor, but real close to your mouth. Because we have, not only is the room difficult to hear, a lot of us are older and deaf. Everybody should have a name tag. If you don't have a name tag, please go to the back, and one of our people in the back will help you get a name tag. And then you can sign up for a name tag as soon as I get the paper out, but I was busy. I'll tell you why I was busy in a little bit. I will get you a button if you want a button. I make them for everybody. We have this space until 2. This meeting will end kind of at 1. Our speaker goes for, I'm kind of giving him instructions now because he went to get his lunch. He speaks for 20-25 minutes, and then the rest is, he leaves the rest for questions. And I kind of come up here and grab the mic and tear him away from his audience around 1 o'clock. And after that, you may stay, or if you know how to get, kind of run away from the group, you can just kind of sneak out the door or just run for your life. We've had both of those happen. Okay. I'm looking for Bob Sturtevant. I thought I saw him. Here he is. And where's the other microphone?
I got it right here.
Do you have somebody over there?
Yeah, this.
Okay.
On the tables is this flyer, backpack full of cash. It's being sponsored by the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers. It'll be next Tuesday night at Mayerson Academy. All are welcome. This is basically talking about how corporations are cashing in on kids.
There you go.
Here, Peter, just take the flyer.
Take the flyer, Peter. We want to get that in the newsletter.
Anybody else?
We have Bob Sturtevant over here.
Katie did a fine job. It's an excellent movie. It's a really nice opportunity to use the school board auditorium too. It'll be a great event. And Bon Ton Rolle on Mardi Gras Day.
Oh, when is Mardi Gras? That's Wednesday? Today? This is Fat Tuesday. Okay, Fat Tuesday. Let's see where my priorities are. We have, if you haven't, please belly up to our bar. We have a non-alcoholic bar, and we have all kinds of good things for you. A lot of them are information, and there is some free stuff down there on the right. Leftover cartoons, you may want to check them. My brother really believes in cartoons. Let's see, David Hughes he came over to my house special to put out those Dr. Janet pieces. There are 2 at every table. So find the half sheet that says Dr. Janet. David really wants you to come to his home where he's holding an event for Dr. Janet. And if you'd like to do that, please go to his house. He wants you there, and he really wanted this group there. Monica. I've had 2 people this week call me to say, I can't be at the Tuesday meeting. And I'm going, I'm getting absence notes, and they're trying to give excuses for not coming. I think this is amazing. So that's why, but David Hughes, it turns out, is either he's doing something with meeting with filmmakers for a film that he's making. I didn't know that. I thought he spent his life saving Walter Park. I mean, how would I know? But he's out producing a film, for heaven's sakes. So that's why he's not here. And the other one, the other person who called to say that she couldn't come, actually she said, when I answered the phone, she said, I'm Sid's mother, Debbie. Okay, just so she would know that, right. So Sid, if you don't know it yet, he's a 20-month-old kid who comes to almost every meeting. And after the meeting, she and her cohorts do a thing called Move to Amend. And she called to say that she can't be here today because she's on her way to Columbus, and there is, because of the statewide people who are involved in this Move to Amend movement that our people are a part of, I love this, there is now a House Bill 74, which is Ohio's version of the Move to Amend, getting money out of politics. And Debbie asked me to tell you that she's going to see the District 28 Representative Deaver. I'm in District 1, so what can I tell you? Oh no, 33, I'm for 33. Anyway, she wants you to call about supporting House HR 74. How can you remember that? I don't know how you're going to remember it, but HR 74. Write it down.
That's when Nixon resigned.
Bridget Kelly? Well, wherever it is, if you go to her, they have a Greater Cincinnati Move to Amend on Facebook. And that will tell you what district you're in. And they want you to put a call into your representative, your state representatives, supporting House Bill HR 74. And there's a meeting at 4 o'clock. They want those, so you have to do it today, folks, to get these representatives to the meeting at 4 o'clock today. And she's bringing Sid, our representative from the Democratic Party. HR 74. We had another good day with naturalization ceremonies. I was personally collecting 252 people registering to vote at naturalization ceremonies just in the month of January. And one of my helpers was over there, Bela, that I drafted from this group. They even made her a name button as a reward. Okay, Any other announcements? Politicians,
Does that naturalization happens every month? They should have-
twice a month.
So that notice should always be in the newsletter.
You can be, That would be fine. We have 2 naturalization ceremonies. They're lovely, it's something really positive to do.
What was that?
To go to the naturalization ceremony and help me or whoever register the new citizens to vote. Who was it who wanted this?
No, we couldn't hear Peter.
Oh, Peter.
All I was saying is that notice should be in every newsletter because it keeps happening regularly. I was at a meeting last night of a Clifton group, and they were talking about how do we register voters, and they said, well, you have to try to not go to Kenwood Mall, go to some place where they're millennials or something. But I pointed out that this is an amazing numbers compared to what other people who've tried registering in supermarkets and so forth have done.
The average is 2 an hour. 2 registrations an hour if you stand in front of a Kroger's. And when I go and get 64, I think it's really good.
Alberta,
Yes.
and I don't need a mic. You don't even need to go stand in front of a Kroger's. I keep them in my purse. I have registration forms with me all the time. And
Good
I have-
idea.
And I have no problem asking cashiers, the people behind me in line, whatever.
Right.
I do.
Go for it, Bonnie.
I've registered
Bonnie,
everybody at
the
the
pussy hat maker.
Where-
If you need a
where-
pussy hat, please see Bonnie.
Pardon my ignorance, but where would one get the forms if one wanted to keep one in one's
Right here,
purse?
there's piles of them here. I keep 100 here. On the bar.
We
Step up to our.
could put in the newsletter where they could download the form, no?
Yes, you can also register online.
Well, what
But
I mean
yes.
is, no, I mean is if you want to carry around some forms in your purse, and my
Yeah,
purse
yeah.
is kind of full.
Fold them up and put them in your pocket. Don't make excuses.
free with non-alcoholic martinis.
And particularly kids, if you see somebody you think is just around 18, ask them, are you registered to vote? Oh, I don't turn 18 until,
If they're 17 and a
Next month,
senior
that's
or
right.
a senior
That's right.
or going to be able to vote, they're also eligible for the Youth at the Booth program. And you guys from this group need to know about the Youth at the Booth program, where if you are going to be 18 by the voting day, you can vote. If you are 17 years old or a senior, you can work at the polls for $181.
and get the
So this is money for kids, but it gets kids involved in the voting process. They have to have a 4-hour training. They go the night before the election, and then they have that long, long day from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. They're paid $181. It's good money. It's look up Board of BOE Hamilton County Board of Elections. And they have representatives going into every high school in the county promoting this Youth at the Booth program. They're trying to get people to vote. But, kids miss school or whatever, so get them to vote. Any other announcements before I introduce our speaker for today? He's really good looking. Ollie Kroner is the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Cincinnati. But I have to tell you that when Katie came up to me, she said, "Do you know about his family? His mother was a CPS school nurse. His sister is the executive chef at the Sleepy Bee. His brother builds tree houses and has been featured on television. His father works with children who age out of foster care. This is a Cincinnati educated and bred folk here. He is one of our hometown heroes. Here is Ollie Kroner."
That was a very kind introduction. Katie Hoffman, Miss Hoffman to me, she was my music teacher growing up. That's how homebred I am. Way back at Prairie View German Bilingual School. fond memories. Thank you for hosting me today. We have a lot going on in the city of Cincinnati on the climate change front. We're thinking a lot about climate change issues, about how it will affect us here, and what we can do about it. So I work with the Office of Environment and Sustainability down at City Hall. How many folks are aware that we have an Office of Environment and Sustainability? More and more across the country, cities are springing up departments of environment and sustainability. Actually, on the West Coast, they're changing their name to Office of Resilience, sort of recognizing the changes that are happening and thinking about how we will adapt. So, I always like to start off asking you all to tell me what you think about when you think of climate change. What images come to mind? Storms. Flooding.
Transportation.
What was that one?
Transportation.
Transportation. You getting in? Yeah, that's
Drought.
Droughts.
We need it.
What does that have to do with
Endangered
climate?
species.
It's the CO2. Melting ice, sea level rising. Sea level rising.
The sphere?
There we go.
The polar bear on a melting ice cap. Poster child of climate change. I know for me, growing up, this is what we learned about. This was the cover of National Geographic. This was climate change in a nutshell. But I'm afraid that this image that has been branded to us makes us feel like climate change is happening far away to somebody else sometime in the future. It's something we need to think about, but it's not us. For a long time now, when climate scientists have looked at what climate change will look like in the Midwest, they say get ready for bigger, intensified storm events. So now over the last year and a half, we've seen 6 50 to 100 year storm events. Does that mean anything to anybody?
Yeah, it means it's not as rare as they thought. It is no longer as rare as it used to be.
Storms that were supposed to happen once every 50 years, once every 100 years, we've now had 6 in a year and a half. This photo was taken in Westwood. That's probably a little hard to see.
I'll get it.
Don't worry about it. I can
I
tell
just
the
wanted to
story.
take some pictures.
This gentleman was driving his box truck when the March 28th storm, if that means anything to anyone, caught him in a flash flood. He had to be rescued by the fire department. They had to bring out their boat.
You said this was Westwood.
Westwood.
Westwood's on a hill.
Well, interesting observation. So most of you who live in Cincinnati are probably well aware of our sewer system and the fact that we have an old sewer system that's easily overwhelmed. And when we have these large storm events, we see sewer backups, right? We've had at least 3,000 homes experience sewer backups. That number should be updated. I need to talk to MSD to get some new numbers. Landslides, flash floods. When you add it up in 2017, we, as a city government, experienced $46 million in damages due to these 6 storms. Getting wetter. For a long time, they called it global warming. That was an oversimplification of the changes we're seeing. So the terminology is shifting. We call it climate change sort of generically now. More and more, I think we hear climate disruption. You know, the counterpoint to climate change is the climate has always been changing. Well, now we're seeing disruptive climate events. Anybody know the hottest year on record?
Last year,
17.
actually 16.
16, but then 17 seconds, right?
Got it.
Where was it?
2016 was the hottest, 2017 was the second hottest. That's coming off the hottest decade in human history. Interestingly, when you look at weather in Cincinnati, our winters are getting warmer. Our summers are about the same, but then we see these heat events, these spikes. And when we look at health implications, those heat spikes are followed by periods of many people going to the hospital, increased morbidity. And as you might imagine, those events hit hardest in certain communities, our elderly folks dealing with respiratory issues. So it's getting wetter, it's getting warmer. For some people that might not sound so bad. Who really loves it are our pests. Our mosquito population is booming. In College Hill, they just found West Nile virus and mosquitoes, I think also Mount Lookout this year. We're seeing spread of tropical diseases. Mosquitoes are vectors. Any naturalists in the crowd? You recognize this image?
Oh yeah, I'm an entomologist.
Can you tell it louder for everybody?
I'm an entomologist, so I'm intimately acquainted with the AB,
What does that stand for?
emerald ash borer.
Emerald ash borer.
Everyone knows it.
More and more people do. Has wiped out our ash tree population across the city, across the region really. We expect, as we do this most recent flyover, we do a flyover to evaluate the health of the tree canopy coverage, and we believe we lost 1% of our trees, which is really devastating for a number of reasons, which we can get more into later. When trees are stressed by climate issues, they try harder to reproduce. Pollen is released. It's allergy season. We have people reporting allergy symptoms for the first time in their life. They lived here decades, suddenly reporting to the hospital with sensitization. So we have increased storms, increased heat, increased pests, and we stack that on top of the fact that Cincinnati has very poor air quality. When they do the national analyses, we consistently rank in the bottom 10. We're located in a valley. We're surrounded by coal plant energy generation. We're along a major transportation corridor. Particulate matter. And we have asthma rates to show for it. These problems are exacerbated by the changes we're seeing in the climate. Increased heat, allergens. So we're concerned about what that means for the health of our population. This is going to be hard to see. This is a table from a study conducted by Children's Hospital. They looked at asthma rates in kids by neighborhood. These are your wealthier communities. Those are your poorer communities. Trust, you can't read the numbers, but that's an 88-fold difference in likelihood of asthma rates from one end of the spectrum to the other. The moving zip codes can reduce your chances of asthma by 88 times. When we zoom out and look at life expectancy, it's even harder to see, isn't it? I don't know if you can see it way back there. This is the high end. This is where the low end. And the axis is flipped. So these are our wealthier communities. Those are our poor. In terms of life expectancy, there's a 22-year difference from one neighborhood to another. It's a problem. And I share those health stats because in many ways, climate change, climate disruption is a risk amplifier. Right? It takes existing problems and makes them more extreme. So we're very concerned about what this means for the health of our population, quality of life in Cincinnati. But there's another side of this story too. All these changes, there's opportunity for economic disruption, and we see the onset of renewable renewable energy, green infrastructure. International magazine just published Cincinnati as the most sustainable metro in the US based on a number of criteria that focus on the built environment. A study by NPR announced that Cincinnati was the second strongest green employment sector in the country. So there's lots of changes afoot. We have changes in the environment, we have the social shifts that are happening. Our office tries to look to the future, synthesize this information, and develop a plan to best position the City of Cincinnati for the years to come. And our playbook is the Green Cincinnati Plan. Anybody seen this before? That's alarming. So the first Green Cincinnati Plan was authored in 2008. It was the first time the city ever did a greenhouse gas inventory, measuring all of the emissions generated by the city. It established 80 recommendations for reducing those emissions, and the office got to work. We updated in 2013, after completing many of the recommendations or making good headway, recalibrated, established a target of 80% greenhouse gas emissions reduction by the year 2050. So this is a long-term timeline. This aligns well with other cities around the country, around the world now, who are making bold reduction targets. So I wanted to walk you through some of the highlights of what that plan has developed. We're actually in the middle of rewriting this plan right now for 2018. Anybody recognize that picture?
The zoo.
Zoo.
That was easy.
Zoo parking lot. Zoo parking lot, yeah.
So the zoo does a good job of marketing, don't they? Fiona, case in point. How many people here live within the city of Cincinnati? Most of us. How many of those purchase renewable energy through the city's aggregation program?
Yes.
Hey, this might actually be a record number of hands in the crowd. This program serves 89,000 households in the city of Cincinnati, provides them 100% renewable energy, renewable electricity for all of their energy needs. It's remarkable how many people participate and have no idea that they're buying renewable energy. One, yeah.
How do people who don't know find out and enroll in that program?
Every household in Cincinnati receives multiple letters in their mailbox through the course of the year. We are restricted by the Utility Commission on how we can market this. But you're touching on a larger issue, that how do we get the word out? I mean, very few of you knew about the Green Cincinnati Plan, and there's tremendous need for promotional effort behind this. One here and there.
Information about doing, changing. I don't know who I'm dealing with, and I don't know if it's real or scam. So how do we find out?
So by doing nothing, you participate in the program.
Yeah, but if you do something and get scammed, then what?
There are many people who will knock on your door and tell you that they'll give you a better price for the same product. There are many people who tell you that the city doesn't offer this. Across the board, more or less, those are scams. Right? You'll sign up, you'll get discounted energy pricing for a period of time, and then it will shoot up. And so through this program, energy in Ohio, energy in Cincinnati, we buy from Duke Energy. Years ago, 2012, we went through deregulation. Duke no longer produces any energy in Ohio. They sold off all of their energy generation. They only have the lines that deliver electricity to your house. So from Duke, you're only paying them to deliver the electricity, which gives us the ability to shop for different providers. And through the energy aggregation program, which if you're a City of Cincinnati resident, you've voted on this issue, we are able to bulk buy all of the energy that's delivered to residents. And by doing that, we can buy green energy at a price that's 10% below what you would buy conventionally from Duke. So it's a money-saving effort that touches 2/3 of our population, including some businesses. Another question?
Yeah, we did get something years ago from the city talking about that, and I think I signed up for
The default, it's an opt-out program. So if you do nothing, you're in the program. If you sign up with somebody else, you're extracted from it.
So Ollie,
Yes.
ask the question again. Most people know that if they've done nothing to opt out and they're a resident of the city of Cincinnati, they're in the program. Now ask how many people are part of the green energy aggregate.
Everybody hear that question? Now that you know this information, if you live in the city of Cincinnati, are you participating or did you sign up with someone else?
Is IGS clean or not?
No.
So they came to the door, exactly what you said. I thought I was already signed up for clean energy, but they said, this is cleaner and cheaper.
It's a problem. I mean, they're preying upon people.
Stupid old people like myself.
And obviously not stupid, but they're very good at confusing you,
How can
right?
you find out?
Because I keep getting letters from somebody else that says, why not have clean energy?
So one way to confirm that you're participating is to look at your Duke bill and look to see that your electricity provider is Dynergy. Dynergy, D-Y-N-E-R-G-Y. And actually, we just released, we are the first city to offer through our aggregation program a biogas option. So this one's slightly different in that you have to opt in and you pay a slight premium, but you're purchasing natural gas that's been harvested from a variety of sources, from anaerobic digestion. So you'll receive a letter in the mail the same way that will outline this information, but if you want to contact our office, Michael Forrester is our energy manager, and he can walk you through the process of becoming involved in the program.
Phone number.
Phone number.
Right, I don't have his memorized. You can call mine at 513-352-6992.
Ollie, isn't it true that we were the first major city in the country to do this, to do their green energy?
Depending on how you define major. Yes, at the time we were the largest city to do so. I think Oklahoma City was just before us. So if you do, depending on their size. Yes.
Are there any of the other cities in the metropolitan area that have also done this that you're aware of?
Great question. So there are multiple municipalities that have energy aggregation, right? So they are bulk buying energy for their residents. Only Cincinnati is purchasing green energy. This would be a great issue to advocate for. Norwood, Coleraine. I'd have to confirm that. They have aggregation, but they don't purchase green energy. What about this picture? Anybody recognize that one?
District 3 police.
The country's first net zero police headquarters. Net zero, what does net zero mean?
That means they don't consume any more than they create.
Yep. They produce all of the energy they consume. Solar on the roof, geothermal on the ground, high performance building.
Where is that?
This is in Westwood. District 3. This is a remarkable building in that it was the first time, well, let me say this first. The city has very old buildings. We still have, I think, 4 fire departments that have horse troughs. Typically, when we knew that we needed a building, we put it out to bid. We got the lowest price, we built it. For the first time with this building, we put it out to bid, but also asked for operational costs. How how much would it cost to operate over a given period of time, knowing that we're probably going to own this building for 50 plus years. And for 5% more to build, we were able to build a building that had no utility bill in perpetuity. There's a PBS special that aired nationally, I believe, that focuses on this project. One other interesting thing about this is that it's a very high security facility. Yes, it's built for performance, but that means that the insulation is so thick, that the triple pane windows are so thick, that it's bulletproof. Even the panels of the building are taped together with Kevlar, same stuff that you make bulletproof vests out of. It's not really easy to see in this image, but the rainwater is collected on the roof and delivered to a bioswale that surrounds the perimeter of the building, essentially forming a moat. You can't drive a car into the building if you try. Peter?
Will that same approach be used for the District 3 or District 5 building?
I can't comment on that one. There will be a series of public meetings collecting input on how this should be built, how District 5 should be built. That would be the opportunity to request a high-performance building.
Lori is trying to make that happen.
Lori is one of the advocates. So we're investing very seriously in renewable energy. We now have 27 facilities with solar or hydro or wind installed on site. But we're also doing what we can to get you to put solar on your roofs. Through a program we have called Solarize. How many people have heard of this one? Okay. So we're learning about this bulk buy methodology and how well it works. So you could go to a contractor and buy solar and you get one price. But if everybody in the room who was interested in solar said we want solar together, we get a much better price. So by packaging that interest in solar, we were able to bring the price down 20 to 30% for homeowners to install on their rooftops. Solar's come down on its own about 75% in cost over 10 years. So it's getting more and more affordable, and as you may know, on top of that 20 to 30% discount, there's also a 30% federal tax incentive. So you can get 50% off solar installation right now. In March, we'll be putting the Solarize out for promotion again. We'll be collecting interest if this is something you're interested in. You don't have to live within City of Cincinnati limits. I think there are a few of you that did raise your hand. One of the tools that we've made available to help you decide whether it makes sense for you is this Solar Ready map. OKI hosts it on their website. Type in your address, it'll give a picture of your rooftop. Again, a little hard to see, I know, but orange means good solar potential, blue means too shady. It's a screening tool. If your roof has solar potential, it'll also give you an estimate of how much energy you could generate, what the cost of installation would be, and what the return on investment would look like. So it's a great way to ballpark whether it makes sense for you. From there, Greater Cincinnati Energy Alliance will give you a free assessment. They'll come and look at your roof and map out all of the details for your home. Solar Ready. Solar Ready. Yes?
Say it again.
Say it again.
Is it easy to maintain?
Is it easy to maintain?
Is it easy to maintain? Generally speaking, yes. There are different types of solar, and there are different ways to install, so there's some variables there. But generally speaking, it's very low maintenance. Has a 25 to 30 year life expectancy, typically a 8 to 10 year return on investment. So you pay for 10 years, and then after that you have free energy.
If you eliminate continuity,
Get the association.
And the condo association get together.
That's not my area of expertise, but I think you would have to have the condo association or the building owner participate. So, when we look at, speed up here, Dawn. When we look at the major opportunities ahead of us, the shift to electric vehicles, shift away from the combustion engine, is huge potential. The Obama White House put out this map. They understood that one of the key hurdles to electric vehicle adoption was this range anxiety concept. The idea that, well, if you want to drive from here to Columbus, what happens if you run out of juice midway? So they put together this infrastructure map. Corridors of strong electric charging infrastructure. Cincinnati's right here. We have our work cut out if we want to participate in the future. So, we're doing what we can to move the market. If you anybody drive an electric vehicle? Hybrid, getting close. If you drive a 100% electric vehicle, the city will give you free parking with any meter, any city-owned garage around town. We just signed up, I think, our 230th electric vehicle. It's picking up momentum. We just passed an ordinance that requires electric vehicle charging infrastructure in city-funded garages. Doing what we can. And then, if you recall, Volkswagen got into some trouble for their emissions scandal. They had cheap software on their diesel. As part of the settlement, they are required to spend $72 million in Ohio to encourage cleaner technologies, including electric vehicles. So we're watching carefully for that funding opportunity to come out so we can make some moves. 71.4?
Was that infrastructure charging map, was that heavily politically influenced? Because we have three major interstates that all converge in Cincinnati from north to south.
Can you repeat what he asked?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm wondering if that, what political factors went into that map of charging infrastructures? Because we have three major interstates from north to south that all converge in Cincinnati and head south. How on earth did we not get on that map?
That map doesn't show federal charging stations. They mapped out concentrations of electric vehicle infrastructure, which is usually privately owned. Since that was published, there has been quite a bit of investment in EV infrastructure around here. So it's starting to happen, but I think we need to work harder. Katie, we're sort of doing questions intermittently. Is this okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes. I think we need to sell the free parking.
That's another conversation. When we look at our waste stream, what's in it? The fastest growing segment after cardboard is textiles, clothes, fast fashion. They did a study, and the large majority of American men, if their shirt loses a button, they'll never wear it again. You laugh. I'll just cry.
Home economics in the schools.
Yay!
For boys.
There's obviously still value in that material, right? And there are other people in the community who would be happy to have that shirt. So last March, we signed a contract with Simple Recycling, where they will do curbside textile recycling. Hopefully you got an orange bag at your home. You can put that out full of your old textiles or any of these other things that they collect, and they will collect those and redistribute them to low-cost resellers around the country. If they're not reusable, they'll turn it into a different product, right? So they can manufacture insulation or recycled carpet. there are a variety of options. Yes.
Okay, so when I got that bag, I was like, well, I give my stuff to Goodwill, and now I'm giving it to a good company. Is that, I mean, I guess for people who wouldn't give their stuff to Goodwill, it's okay, but.
So if you donate your old items already, please continue to do so.
Right.
The estimate nationally is 85% does not make it to Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul or Salvation Army. So we're trying to capture that missing segment.
It also makes
We've tried the orange bags and they don't take it beyond the curb.
Right.
I mean, we've tried any number of times and nothing's happened.
He's
You mean-
right, I've had neighbors have put it out and they've never collected.
They're never collected. There have been glitches in the program as it rolls out. Some neighborhoods are serviced very well, others have not been, and we're trying to get to the bottom of that through our contract negotiation. Can you hear me? Sorry.
They will not pick up that content.
They will not pick up your bag either, is that what you're saying?
No, anything over
Oh, at condos.
6 units, they won't pick up.
They can't service everywhere.
Take it to Goodwill.
Right. Goodwill is still a very strong option and offers employment opportunities in the city.
I'm wondering how one gets that full list. I don't remember ever seeing the full list of things you can put in the orange bag. Did that come with the bag? I don't remember.
Repeat what he says.
He's never seen the list of all of the things that can be collected in that. You can find that at simplerecycling.com. Simplerecycling.com. So the other side of this, so we have lots of good programs to point to that we're proud of and are good examples of successes. But really what we're trying to do is reduce our carbon emissions as a city. So for the second time ever, last year we conducted another greenhouse gas inventory to see if these programs are working. And very pleased to report that over those 9 years, City of Cincinnati's government was able to bring down emissions 36.3%. And when we look at the city as a whole, all of the people living here, we've dropped 18.4%. When we map that out from 2006 to 2050 and our 80% reduction targets, that works out to about 2% a year. We're right on the dot. 18% over 9 years. So now, we have to think about how to get the rest of the way. Between these 2 points? He asked if it's a straight line. We don't know the answer to that because we haven't done intermittent inventories. We plan to do them more frequently now.
With all the innovations of saving and being sustainable, has the city's bill to Rumpke landfill gone down?
Oh yeah. I have this slide that I didn't include in this presentation that maps the reductions in total landfill waste over time, and it's dropped significantly over the last 5 years after 10 years of decline. So we're making good headway, largely through shifting to recycling, right? So, June 1, 2017, anybody remember that day? The federal administration decided that we would be withdrawing from the Paris Accord, which I believe many environmentalists felt like was a dagger in everything that's all of the momentum that had been building. That same day, our mayor held a press conference and announced that he would be signing on to the Compact of Mayors. I'm getting a funny noise back there. Compact of Mayors has grown now to be over 1,700 cities that have signed a joint commitment to reduce our emissions moving forward, establish a plan, and measure those. This isn't environmental issues have not been a key focal point of Mayor Cranley's campaigns. Were not until that day. he received such positive feedback from this that I think it completely reshaped his vision. And he hit us with two really big announcements, really big, bold announcements. One, that the city of Cincinnati would be committed to 100% renewable energy by the year 2035. This is among the most ambitious goals of any city in the U.S. Two, he announced a plan to build the largest city-owned solar project in the U.S. 25 megawatts of electricity. You remember the picture of the zoo's canopy, solar canopy? That's 1.5 megawatts. He wants to build 25 megawatts. This is 140 acres of solar. So this is a rendering at Luncheon Airport, where it's hoped that solar will be installed between the runways. We're looking at old landfills, rooftops of city facilities, trying to eke out all of the rooftop space that we can find to build this. And the numbers look like this will be a cost savings measure for the city of Cincinnati in an attempt to take waterworks off the grid. So, lots of good work to show. Now we're thinking about where we go from here. We're in the process of updating the Green Cincinnati Plan. It will be the 2018 Green Cincinnati Plan. Mayor Cranley also took this opportunity to pass a motion to update this plan and fund the development. So now we've had close to 30 public meetings. We've had over 120 organizations participating. We've had over 1,500 recommendations submitted. And our office is working through everything, trying to identify the highest impact, most feasible options to include in the plan. When I go back to the office today, I'll be posting the draft online for a 2-week public comment period. This is an issue of passion for you if you have good ideas. I touched on a few good ideas just in your questions. We ask for your feedback because we want to make this the people's plan and as impactful as possible. So greencincinnatiplan.com, you'll be able to find that this afternoon. There will be a comment form where you can submit your feedback and additional suggestions.
I did have a question as to how you get this information. Is it just sent out, or do you have to go into your computer and look it up?
Specifically the Green Cincinnati Plan?
Yeah.
It will be
It's
online.
yeah.
It's online.
So it's for online people who have computers.
Mhm.
How much does it cost to do a small house for solar? What would,
Put solar on a small
when
house?
you put solar on a small house, what are you talking about? How much?
There are a lot of variables. The average home
Yes.
is an $8,000 investment.
Mhm.
There are financing options available. Obviously, there are homes that are smaller than that and don't need as much. Homes
Right.
that are very small but consume a lot of electricity. So
So the
there's some
solar,
details that are important.
does the solar overtake the dynergy?
If you can produce your own energy, that is a better option than purchasing green energy.
Well, how do you know?
So
I
the
mean,
way.
there are a lot of questions, like we have dynergy, then there's this idea of having solar. Are you paying for both?
So the way the green energy program works, if you buy through Dynergy, they have renewable energy across the country.
Right.
And you are buying the electrons that they generate at those facilities.
Right.
If you install solar here, you are changing the grid here. And you are doing more to reduce the emissions of this region and doing more to trim your future energy costs.
So if the more solar comes in, then you don't use as much electric from dynergy, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
So Oliver, if you have solar that you have put in your house and you have excess, what happens to your excess energy that is produced?
If you do not have batteries that would store that excess, it is sold back to the grid. So Duke will buy that energy back from you. The rates are not incredibly favorable because they'll buy back from you at a cheap rate and sell back to you at a more expensive rate. It's their business. There's a concept called virtual net metering that's popping up across the country, which would allow you to sell that excess energy to your neighbors at a price that you negotiate. Right now, that's illegal in Ohio. So that'll be a state level decision that we'll have to overcome. So,
Michael had one and then.
Yeah, what effort is being made to replace the diesel buses that we have running in the city streets now?
so SORTA is not City of Cincinnati, so we do not have as much authority over that as some people may believe. It's actively being explored, the shift to electric buses. Right now, the economics aren't working out quite as well as some would hope. At the same time, the cost of electric buses are rapidly coming down and the operational costs are much less. So I think we're coming close to the break-even point, which would trigger that transition. That VW money that we talked about is a golden opportunity to make that type of shift, both at SORTA and for city fleet.
Peter's got it back here.
Two quick recycling questions. Speaking of batteries, is it okay to throw alkaline batteries in the waste? Or should they be recycled?
They should be recycled. Finding a battery recycler is not incredibly easy. However, on our website or the county's website, there are a list of locations where all different types of batteries can be accepted. City Hall being one of them.
Second question, cat food cans. I'm told that cat food cans are made of a lesser grade of aluminum and should not be put in recycling because Rumpke won't take them. Is that correct? And if that's correct, what does Rumpke do with all those bad cat food cans?
I don't know the answer to that question. Sue Magnus is our recycling manager. She knows all the ins and outs of our recycling program and could answer that more accurately than I'll be able to make up an answer.
Try harder, Ollie.
Did you have a question, Michael?
Regarding the solar versus other kinds of alternative energy, don't forget there's geothermal, and I have a wealthy relative who has a 4,700 square foot house in Tennessee, which isn't very cold, who did both solar and geothermal, so she could basically live off the grid, which is what that zero net energy example for the police department is. Now, you've got to have a lot of money to make that kind of upfront investment. Her payback may have not been great, but they at least, after 10 years, are still doing pretty well. There was a house in Cincinnati, less than 3 blocks from mine, that for $7,000 put geothermal in when they needed a new furnace, and that was heat and cooling, and the payback was under 10 years. If you want to know more about that stuff, I would encourage you to join the American Solar Energy Society. And they have a zillion good tips in a magazine called Solar Today that you get for a pretty low price. You don't have to be a computer whiz to get it. And on the transportation front, those of you who heard me speak 3 weeks ago, green buses are an okay idea, but not as fast as other types of electric rail transit. And I came here to help convince Ollie, to help me convince the city and everybody else to jump on the regional rail transit bandwagon.
Go, Michael.
And electrify everything we do, because that's much better for the environment. And I would just make one other comment. In October '99, I went to a conference called Mainstreaming Green in Chattanooga. There were 2 universities present. I was representing UC, and within a week we had a sustainability committee, and within a year we had 10 projects in a $1 billion program registered to get the lead credits like you have now with that excellent design that Lori helped encourage, I guess, for the police department. So we brought sustainability to Cincinnati at UC, and it only took the city a few more years to jump on the bandwagon, and I'm glad to know you're here.
So speaking of sustainability, the notion as in the breadth of what that means has changed over the years. And also when the Green Cincinnati plan was birthed, it was actually the Climate Protection Action Plan. And its focus was almost entirely on greenhouse gas production and climate change, or what was even then called global warming. The new Green Cincinnati plan has this 3-pillar notion, and I wonder if you could just tell people what that is.
Right. So for 2018, our 3 pillars of the Green Cincinnati plan will be sustainability, resilience, the idea that these changes are happening and that we need to make changes to adapt and accommodate the future that we anticipate, and equity. So many of our programs, when we look at uptake within the community, are very concentrated within certain pockets of the city. You might be able to estimate where those are. So we're looking very carefully at how our promotional efforts guide that, how our access to information, the words we use to describe them, how those shape implementation. In so many ways, our poorer population will bear the brunt of this. Some of us can turn up thermostat if it's hot, our sewer's flooded, we have good insurance. It's not as big of a deal. But there were homes that for months after the sewers backed up, they still had water in their basement. They didn't know who to call. Their neighbors didn't have the information either. And when water stagnates like that, it creates mold and indoor air quality issues that are very problematic.
That's putting it nicely.
So for all of the recommendations that we're developing, we're looking at them very closely through an equity lens, trying to figure out ways that both the most evenly distribute the benefits of the program.
First of all, I looked it up, cat food cans are recyclable.
Thank you.
But yeah, so now you know. Even the lids are too. But second, so you talked a lot about solar, which is really cool, but I was wondering how much investigation there had been into geothermal energy and using that to heat government buildings, or even like maybe subsidizing larger apartment buildings, because it seems to be kind of growing in Ohio.
Geothermal has huge potential and also qualifies for that 30% tax incentive. So it's discounted, it's subsidized right now. It requires space, which we don't always have. And it also, the opportunity for investment happens when your existing air conditioning, climate control dies. And what we've seen so far is that for existing buildings, it's usually a no crap moment. Your furnace dies, you need heat. You shell out the cash. If there was more foresight and more planning, the transition to geothermal could be easier. For new construction, that's another story. You know, it's much easier to build in, and I hope that we'll see more and more geothermal in city facilities moving forward.
What about individual houses, small ones that are old? Geothermal, is it going? No, it's not.
No, it's on here.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay.
So, let's put it this way. Police District 3 is 40,000 square feet and needed 40 wells to service the building. Those are wells that go deep into the ground, right? So if you have land, regardless of the size of your home, if you have land, then geothermal can be an option. Also depending on the conditions of the soil and how close you are to bedrock, et cetera, et cetera. But
So how do you find out? How do you find out?
there are several companies around town that will install install geothermal and will come and do the audit for
And
you.
they're reliable.
I haven't used any of them personally. Melink is a company around town that is doing, MELINK, is doing a lot of solar and geothermal installation. We've worked with them, and so far we do trust them. There are many others though.
You can also, there's a website for the Greater Cincinnati Green Builders Association. They've got everybody listed. So that's another resource.
USGBC, Green Building Council. Thank you.
How about, I'm not a fan of tax abatements, but how about no tax abatement unless you install either solar on the roof or use green technology?
Go girl.
You go, you go.
So, Cincinnati does have one of the most innovative energy performance tax abatement programs, in that if you qualify for LEED project or Living Building Challenge, you can earn up to an additional 5 years of tax abatement, property tax abatement on your project. And that's really helps the uptake rate of LEED in Cincinnati take off.
Apartment owners to, you know, it'd be incentive for apartment owners to do something with multiple units.
I would welcome you to submit that idea at greencincinnatiplan.com.
Submit your ideas. Ollie, you are wonderful. Thank you so much for coming today. I learned a lot. I didn't know we had this program in Cincinnati. Big Tucson gave us something good. Thank you for coming. I'm going to take that away from you now. We can still. Quiet. It's my brother. I have a missed call. I have two brothers. They do a comedy routine. I'm the other brother. No, I'm the other brother. No, I'm the other brother. No, I'm the other. Just know that he wants us. I tried to install solar, and within a week they called back and said, "You don't have enough roof space." They had just gone into the aerial view of my house, and they were able to tell me, "Alberta, you can't do it. You don't have enough roof." That's because I put a bathroom on the second floor for Stanley. And they had to raise the roof. I lost solar, but I've got a bathroom. Let me tell you. I think we're very grateful for we lost solar. Let's see. We have excess food. Please make sure you get to the food. Take home anything that's left there. If you paid for your meal, then we're happy to have you take leftovers, please. And let's see, is anything else happening here? Any other announcements?
An earring that was.
Oh, next week. Wait a second. I have that. Mental health. Oh, goodness. Allison Gorski is coming for mental health. And the following week, on the 27th, we have the Citizens Climate Lobby with Doug Bell. And what did you say was for March 6th?
Just talking to Rabbi Barr, but we're hoping to have AFCHAT that day.
we're hoping for AFTAB, but it was for Ohio's first congressional district, which was Rabbi Barr, but you know that he's withdrawn from the race, unfortunately, because he was very well spoken and he really expresses himself well, as Laura was also. So we would have voted for people in the primary, but they're not. Both of these guys have been withered by the competition of.
We've been working hard.
You've been working hard. You know, we respect that. So, Dr. Laura.
Work doesn't count.
Okay, so I have printed many copies of our first year's programming. If you need to see that, please be in touch with me. Finish off the food. Come for your mental health next week. I love you. You're a great audience. You're a great group of people, and you have wonderful questions. Thank you. Oh, Peter, how can I help you?
On March 10th, the city will have its annual neighborhood summit.
Neighborhood Summit on March 10th.
Yes. I'll send a note to Pete, he's got it already.
Send a note to Pete. Send a note to Pete. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful day. Oh, wait a second. Bill.
Very quickly, I have instructions to send regards from Dr. Janet Everhard.
Dr. Janet.
Who's running for Congress in
The second
district. And she's been here several times.
Were you here when I told people to come to the...
We did have the open house information here on the tables. And as I've gotten to know her, I admire her more and more. And she said...
If you go tell her that you heard about it here.
And she said to send her regards.
Wonderful. Support Dr. Everhard. Have a great week, folks. And there's Mike. Everybody should have had a kiss from me without germs. I washed my hands before I handed this out.